interactive as possible. Feel free to ask me questions. I have 2 degrees in finance, chartered accountancy, done finance for 10 years. I do this like really, really well. However, I hope nobody randomly asks me to follow me to my house and see my room because my bed might not be made. So where am I going to? There's some things to do excellently well. I'm sure you guys are lawyers. I can't, even anytime I get a document, I have to send it to someone because I don't thoroughly understand it. So there's no stupid questions. You do excellently well at what you do, so feel free to ask me questions so we both get value from this. So why did I start Money Africa? I got my first job in South Africa at the age of 20, and it's getting paid good money. I worked there for another 4 years before I relocated back to Nigeria. And when I moved back to Nigeria, I had a suitcase of clothes, of shoes, a nice stomach that I ate at lovely restaurants, and a pair of eyes that I'd seen beautiful places. But that was pretty much it. There was no investment. So I remember I had to wait for like a month before I moved into or transitioned into my new job. And it was in church. My mom had squeezed 500 naira to put in my hands. I was earning the equivalent of, with my first job, it was very good money. And here I was with 500. I don't know if it was the 500 naira that really paid me, but the fact that somebody was giving me offering when I was seeing very good money. And I was like, never again. So subsequent to that, I worked with CNBC Africa. I worked with Bloomberg TV as senior financial analyst, and then I worked with British American Tobacco as a commercial finance manager covering West Africa with a budget of $20 million. So I was able to then use my money, invest it, and then I wanted to share it with people. Whenever I take those classes, there's always a misconception that, oh, you need to be rich, you need to have a very good job. The very next thing they always ask me is, and but Tosin, you've always worked in multinationals, that's why you're saying this, but it's actually not true. So you can actually start with what you have and where you are, and I'm very sure that the class will show us. So, the very first thing is, what is your financial goal? It's very imperative that you're able to clearly articulate what your financial goal is and what duration of time. I was speaking with a 40-year-old, and she says, Tosin, my daughter is 9. If she gets admission into Oxford University, I want to be able to pay her school fees. So how much are we looking at? So we're able to do the numbers. We calculated how much is Oxford University today, what is the inflation rate we're looking at for like next Arab plus of land and more or the like. So that's what she wanted. And by the time she turns to 30, she must have an hectare of land because 6 plus is about an hectare. So that just goes to show you about the detailing in this financial goals. You need to be able to be detailed, you need to be able to put a timeline to it, and you need to be able to be specific. After every 2 years or every 3 years or even every year, you can go back and review your goals. Our agenda for today, we're going to talk about is wealth or mindset as a result of choices. Do I need the budget, risk and return, asset classes, drawing up a financial plan, and also portfolio diversification. So, what do you think about wealth? Is it mindset or is it knowledge? What do you think? Sometimes, probably a mixture. Mixture, okay. Any other person? Okay, based on research, wealth is actually 80% mindset and 20% knowledge. Why is this? Have you noticed that people that win lottery, and this is also based on research, people that win the lottery struggle to send the money to the next generation. So in very high percentage, a high number of time, what happens is that they go back to poverty, or they just go back very regular people, but they struggle to send it to the next generation. And that's because, they have the, can you guys do we need the mic? Can you hear me without the mic? They actually spend 20 to 30 hours on their finances. So they're putting in 10 times more effort than the average person. There's a lot of deliberateness, there's a lot of time. Like now, I had a very, very long week. I had no business coming here, but I'm doing this because of long-term relationship. So this is an investment for me. It's long-term relationship. So you are very deliberate. You're actually looking at the cost analysis, the benefits. What is this? So 20 to 30 hours. They are very deliberate in their decisions. They are very deliberate about their money. They are very deliberate about their time. Their time is very important, and we need to start being on that level. So our mindset is the biggest game. Money is very, very psychological than a lot of people want to actually accept. Money starts with the mind, and then from the mind, we put in the work, we put in the action, and then we execute. before you invest, you have to investigate. So what does that mean? And that's why we're having this session. So people actually speak about the investment opportunities. What do I need to know before I start investing? And that's why we need to investigate. So, but now there's a bit of a problem here. In as much as I want us to be very, very investigative and we're putting in the work and we want to understand what it is we need before we actually invest, the problem here is that many people dilly-dally. So they sit on it for years. So somebody will tell you that I want to buy shares and I want to buy shares every year. Mouth, 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 nothing, no action. I want to buy real estate, I want to buy land. Mouth, 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 no action. And why is there no action? It could be a couple of things. Number one, it could be lack of knowledge. Number two, it could be fear. So I went to a dinner, I think it was sometime last year, and was speaking with some of the people there, and then she said, I never bought shares before because my father-in-law's share, something happened in the market, which is true. It happened in 2008, thereabout, and you can't just erase this memory from people's mind because it really did happen. For other people, with regards to property or real estate, they'll be like, Omomile took it from Omomile in Yoruba means repossessed properties. So Omomile took the property from us or things like that. You can't also wipe away this memory like that. So there are many reasons why some people believe that, but maybe they're just really just all talk, and we want to move away from being all talk to actually doing what? Putting in some action. The next thing is that there is never a rush. Investments are like buses. There will always be another one coming along. So about 14 years ago, there was Twitter. But prior to that, it wasn't there. In the future, there will be new investments that we never knew about. When I'm speaking about Twitter, I'm talking about it as an investment. Some people for the shares. So there will always be a new investment coming up. There will always be something hot, something new. So don't feel rushed. Don't feel you have to. It has to also come from you've done your research, you're comfortable, you're ready. And if you're not comfortable, you're not ready, you'll be another opportunity. When Uber finally went public, that is, they listed their shares on the global, or they listed their shares on the stock exchange, a lot of people were writing stories about how the founders came to them several years ago and they were not convinced or they did not believe it. But in as much as it might have seemed like a fantastic exit, which it was, in saying that they were able to list on the global stock exchange, there will be another hot one. It's not the end of the world. There was something else. Before Uber, there were things. So there will be another hot investment opportunity. The next one is intuition. Intuition is very, very important. Some people call it the highest form of intelligence. But now, intuition has a bit of a problem in the sense that sometimes it is masked with ignorance and sometimes fear. And that's why we have to be very introspective and you have to be very honest with yourself that this gut feeling I feel, is it a gut feeling from a point of fear? Is it a gut feeling from a point of ignorance? Or is this just my gut feeling raising a red flag? A lot of research I've gone to pointed out that the intuition is actually a very high form of intelligence. The next one is, I'm just thinking about intuition. I think it was sometimes in 2013, I was moving jobs and I got paid out a decent sum and I wanted to invest it. At that point, everybody was talking about Owando. Owando seemed to have been the hottest. They were going to buy a ConocoPhillips asset and everybody was talking about it and how it was an excellent decision to actually invest in. But I didn't feel peace and I couldn't explain why I didn't feel peace, even though all the research houses were talking about how that was a very good investment. But I didn't. So now the share went from 16 naira to 20 naira, from 20 naira to 25 naira, from 25 naira to 30 naira. So that was almost 100%, all in the space of like 6 months. So like, just you missed out. Like, it's life, it happens. They released their results on the Nigerian Stock Exchange in the subsequent years. I think that was 2014 or 2015, and it was a bloody day. The market sank, like literally. The share, they overestimated everything. Everything they thought was going to happen, or everything they said was going to happen, was grossly overestimated. So the market literally did this. It went from 30 naira, I think, all the way to like 5 naira. They had to kick it out of they suspended it from the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and I think they just brought it back last year. So, till now, I can't explain why I felt that way. So, intuition is very key. The next one is, if you don't understand an investment, just leave your money in the bank, to be very honest. It's actually one of the best investments you can make is actually to just leave it if you're not sure. If there's anything that you cannot explain simply to a 6-year-old you do not understand, you have no business investing in it. So now the thing is that people are either too lazy to actually look for the information themselves or try and do some research, or they are being cheapskates because they don't want to involve a professional. I mean, you are lawyers and you know how people are always trying to scheme around. They don't want to pay for legal fees. The same way people also don't want to pay for financial fees. They rather just want to game it and just see how far it goes. But to be really honest, if you're invested at a personal level and with a relatively decent sum, you can do the math, but if you can't, you can also call on an expert to actually help you take a look at it. I think this is one of my favorite, okay, this is my second favorite slide, that wealthy people actually never leave things to luck. They are very deliberate, they always play the defensive strategy, that is, they protect what they have. And it's a very, very critical skill, actually being able to protect. After you've worked so hard to generate an asset, the next thing you do is what? You protect it. You protect it, and then you grow, you protect, you grow. So you always have to have that protective strategy. And speaking about protecting, I'm actually going to talk about insurance. How many of us here have a health insurance? Okay, I want to believe that you're lying to me. Please tell me you're lying. Please do something about it. I know a lot of people say that I'm covered with the blood of Jesus, or Allah is seeing me through. And that is great. But wisdom is also profitable to do what? To direct. Please, your health is your greatest asset. Based on research, 65% of Africans actually fall back, or Nigerians, fall back into poverty if they were to get, they were to actually read for you. So it's a big thing. And many people actually do not trust the insurance system in Nigeria, but things have changed. They're actually paying out now. So there are some plans that actually could give you a cover to up to 1.5 million. So let's say they're 2.5 million. They are now looking for 1.8, not 2.5. So I think they can start with the treatment or something. And people also think that they only use health insurance for when they get really ill. But there are some health plans that actually give you covers like having access to a gym, seeing a therapist, seeing a nutritionist, seeing a dermatologist. These are all the things that are also actually good. Every time you put your car on the road, there's a chance of it getting hit. And it does not mean that you do not say your prayers in the morning. It really just, it might just be a crazy driver around you. So, insurance premium in Nigeria is one of the lowest in the world. It's about 3% of the market value of your car, or how much you want to cover it for. So let's say your car is worth $1 million and you want to get a comprehensive cover. That means that you're going to pay a premium of about 30,000 naira. So for a whole year, you can actually drive with peace of mind. And if somebody hits you in traffic, just, continue driving. You're not fighting, you're not stressed. You know that your insurance is actually going to cover it. So insurance is actually very key in the sense that it protects the money in your pocket. I was doing a bit of a research. If you have to do that whole spray and bake thing whenever your car gets hit, it's about 50 to 60,000. So now imagine you're changing the fender, you're changing this, you're changing that. When your insurance can actually just cover it. The next thing here is a will. It's a very uncomfortable conversation, but if you have a spouse or you have children, I don't even think you should actually scheme on this. Please get a lawyer. Oh, you're a lawyer, sorry. Yeah, you know this. Write something down, just in case. You never can tell. And also, I'd rather people look at a will as something that they update, like an Excel sheet. You know how you write something on an Excel sheet? And even if the computer shuts down, the stuff has sort of saved itself, and you can just keep updating over the years. If you see it as that, as opposed to a death sentence, is an easier decision to make. Then the very fourth one is actually reputation. Reputation is very, very critical. Nigeria is a low trust environment. People don't trust each other. That's pretty much it. And also, you're also in the legal space, so you've heard, you must have heard it all. There's a lot of mistrust in the society, from family members to employers to people that work together. It's just really, really crazy. In developed economy, whenever people want to start a business, the first they think of is doing what? Having a co-founder. It's almost normal. It's like a standard thing. But in Nigeria, guess what the majority does? They do solo. They're solo founders. And why do they do that? Trust is a very critical component of it. And this might sound very funny or unrelated, but how many people remember watching Nollywood when they were much younger? And two people will start a business together, and then what happens? Then Baba and Kechi will now, really? And it just goes to just a cultural issue. Like the trust is there's a trust deficit. So you always have to go out of your way to ensure that your trust is intact. Whatever you say you're going to deliver, you're going to over deliver it. So now, like I was telling her yesterday, I'm going to be here on time. I think I came in about 30 minutes anyhow. So that reputation is like very critical. When you borrow money, please pay it back. Nigeria now has a proper credit system, and they are actually keeping stock. Just with every of your dealings, even things that are not captured in the system, just always having that mindset of my reputation is my greatest asset. The next thing is actually financial independence. It's actually very, very slow compared to what a lot of people think. I know we keep hearing cases of people raising $1 million, raising $8 million, doing astonishing things, but guess what? They're actually the outliers. They form less than 1%, like 0.00 something percent. The reality is that it's actually slow incremental growth. And that is really just the truth. I hope you're the next hedge fund company. I hope you do amazing things, but the reality is that the average person, the 99%, will always just grow it on a steady, regular basis. Now, everybody's talking about Amazon and how awesome Amazon is. Amazon started, 25 years ago? How about Apple? About 38 years ago, they listed on the stock market in the US. These things actually really do take time. I think we just have to be comfortable with the fact that things take time, and it's okay. Now, what are you doing while you're taking that time is my own question. If you look at Warren Buffett, about 99% of his wealth was acquired after the age of 50. But in the first year, but before, from his 20 to his 50, what was he doing? He was stacking what? He was stacking blocks. So we just love to see the end sight, but we need to understand that it's actually very slow. It's like you putting a bucket underneath a tap of water. What happens? A leaking tap. You know those drips? Tip, 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 tip. Eventually, what happens? It gets filled up. You just have to trust the process. And I just wanted to do a quick math with us. There's a right answer, but wrong answers are also what? Welcome. So let's do a quick math. If you were saving and investing 20,000 naira every month from your 20s, and you're earning an interest rate of 10%, how much will you have when you retire? So let's assume that retirement is 60. So again, let me simplify it. We are looking at about 40 to 45 years. You're saving or investing 240K every year, that is 20,000 naira every month, and you're getting an interest of 10%. So help me, what do you think? How much do you think the person will have when they're retiring? Just give it a try. I mean, you don't have to get the right answer. Just give it a shot. Okay, 10.5 million. Any other person? 10.5 million. Any other person? Did somebody else say 10.5 as well? Yeah. 10.5. All right. Any other person, guys? I'm waiting. 10. Okay, fine. I can go ahead. So I've had five 10.5 million. So again, for the purpose of those just coming into the class now, we're doing a quick exercise stating that achieving financial so we are assuming exactly, you can't believe that because everybody's telling the big picture. If you look at how compounding works, in the first year when you invested 240,000 and you made 10% of that 240,000, when you're going to the next year, how much are you working with? Now it's going to be 10% of 240,000 is how much? 24,000. 240,000 plus 24,000 is what? 264,000. Fantastic. So the January of the next year, I have a bigger what? Bigger pot. And now I'm still contributing. And I'm still not going to earn 10% on my 264 plus the 264 of that year. So when I'm going to the next year, how much am I going with? Can you see? And then it keeps what? It keeps like yeast that you put to bread. And it keeps what? It keeps growing. But nobody wants to play the long-term game. How much is the 20,000 naira to you? Everybody to differ. For me, that's like a meat budget SLB for me. Yeah? 20,000 naira again for me could be going out with my friends, let's say 2 times in a month, or let's say 3 times in a month. And if you do the calculation for everybody, it will have different meanings. For somebody else, it could be maybe somebody uses 1K every day to eat out. That could be 20K. Do you get? But this same 20,000 deliberately invested from your 20s actually has capacity of giving you 211 million. But people won't do that because they're waiting for a big contract or they want to make a huge money. And the reality, and I'm not saying this and I'm not wishing anybody bad, the reality is that everybody is going to actually earn an average income, but what are you going to do with your income? And that is why we're having this conversation. So if you had started in your 30s, you would have gone away with 76 million. So how much would you have made less? 135 million approximately, just because you started 10 years later. You actually ought to start now. But it's not hard, it's not impossible. If you started in your 30s and you were doing 50K every month, you can catch up. You can catch up with the guy or the lady that started in their 20s. Imagine now you even double the gain. Aha! Now you're whooping them off the pack because now you're doing 100,000. I'm just showing you all the different possibilities and actually what happens if you actually start early. Now imagine that person in their 20s already like just doing 50K, then boom, that's about $500 million. So the whole essence of this slide is to talk about the long-term impact and how we actually need to start embracing playing the long-term game. And I previously gave an example about a bucket underneath a tap that is just dripping. And what happens, it eventually does what? Fill up. But now the problem is, many people do not let the bucket fill up. They actually go and start taking scoops of bowls of water from the bucket, so it doesn't fill up. And we need to actually stop doing that. Leave the bucket and let it fill up. A portion of your investment needs to actually be where? Long term. So there's 4 categories of people that save and invest, and we have category 1. These are people that do not save and invest at all. I'm not talking about the woman on the street that is selling corn or somebody that is hawking and selling coke. No. 70% of Nigeria's population are under poverty, and they are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that are earning an income, that their income is high enough to cover their essential needs, that they have a disposable income. What is a disposable income? A disposable income is after you've covered all the needs you need to survive. That is a disposable income. So if you are not saving from your disposable income before here, the next one is people that save 2 liters. Saving 2 liters comes at a cost. You saw the analysis of what we did. Somebody was doing 20K every month, and that person was doing 50K. If the person genuinely had the capacity of doing 50,000, then you see how they've cheated themselves. Or let's say they are doing 10,000 every month, and they have the capacity of doing 20,000. You see how that 10,000 that looks so small, what would happen on the long run? So you're actually doing what? You're throwing money away. Every time you save 2 liters, you're leaving money on what? On the table. The next one is category 3, people that save to consume. So they save to buy a car, they save to go on holidays and do all these other things, which is not a bad thing. We are here to actually do. Life is for what? Life is for the living. And I don't play with my holiday as well. I go on holiday. I also want to wear nice things. So category 3 is important, but the problem is that people are not doing it in conjunction with category 4. One needs to be able to combine the both of them. So you're actually saving to consume, you're going on holidays, you're doing all the right things, but you're also investing. So it's just actually being able to choose and match. What will work best for me now? What can I afford now? How can I do both? How can I invest and also be able to take care of myself? Because the truth is, and I'm going to be very honest with you, if you're just doing aggressive saving and investing and you're not doing anything that actually also makes you happy, there's a very high chance that you're going to what? Default. It won't be sustainable. So the same thing with clothes and things that you actually like. Why don't you plan for it? Reward yourself. Who has a reward budget? Many people don't have a reward budget, but they actually do it. Now they do it from a point of guilt, or they do it that they still get broke. So you might as well plan for it. That this is my well done Tosin. You've spoken at 5 different events this week and you delivered a stellar job, and I'm going to take you out for a drink at a lovely restaurant. You're deliberate about it, and you're being intentional about it. So it's okay to actually have a reward budget, an intentional budget to actually give yourself a treat. It helps you stay on course on the long run because now you're planning. People still end up doing it anyways, but now there's no method, there's no pattern, it's just as it comes. What do you understand by risk and return? What comes to your mind when you think about it? There is a right answer, but wrong answers are also welcome. So please share with me. I'd like to hear from you. Guys, give it a shot. What do you think of risk and return?
I think the two relate.
Okay.
Usually said that the higher the risk you're willing to take, the more return will be.
Okay, thank you for contributing. Any other person? Risk and return, guys. Give it a shot. Okay, so basically risk is the probability or the chance that something might happen or it won't happen. So a high risk means that there's a very high chance that it's going to happen. No. A high risk is a very high chance that it will not happen. While a low risk is a very high chance that what you're thinking will happen. So that's a high risk and that is a low risk. A mid risk means 50-50, you're just right there in between. Now, there's a bit of a myth, and she spoke about that myth, talking about high return, high risk, and it's not always true. When MMM came to Nigeria, they promised Nigerians 30% in a month. If we analyzed that amount, that means that 30% in a month is equivalent to approximately 360% in a year. Because that is 30% times what? 12. It's not approximate, it's actually equal to 360% in a year. Interestingly, the month that MMM took off, I think a month or two after, First Bank of Nigeria's shares was going for 3 naira. After 1 year, those same shares for 3 naira went all the way to what? 15 naira. If you calculate the percentage, what is that? That is what? 500% return. Are we together? Yeah. Exactly. Now, First Bank will not run away because Shola, Ajoke, Chiamaka kept the how much 1 million. Really, do not close their shop and run away. No. Let's stay with me. They won't run away. It's a lower risk company. They have a real business, and this is just really how the stock market works and the entire works. Now, people did not take that risk, but instead they gave their money to MMM, and MMM took off with 50 billion naira. Now, who has a higher risk between MMM and MBN Capital? Who gave a better return between MMM and MBN Capital? Exactly. So it's not always true. So a lot of people also said that Nigerians are very greedy, and that's why they did MMM. I think I'll lean more towards it's actually okay to actually want a high return, and we actually need to be preaching or letting people know their options for people that actually want those kind of aggressive returns. Like now, this year, Spotify did about 200% return. Yeah, about 200% return. So that's how much Spotify did in just 8 months. But now, they might also not have done that. It's just a risk. So just letting people know, if you really, really want that kind of crazy kind of return, there are opportunities that actually give you that without you having to completely lose your money. Worst case capital, the share price will drop. So you're not losing everything, you just lose like a portion of it. All here, we've already put in our time, and I appreciate if we actually have a conversational session, so that way we're actually both getting value from it. If we're just on the other side, just listening, it sort of defeats the point. So I'd actually like you to participate. So if you just, whatever inflation means to you is fine. Like I said, there's a right answer, but wrong answers are welcome. Yeah? What do you think of inflation?
I think it's like the increase in price.
Yes.
Goods.
Okay, fantastic. So inflation is the general increase in the prices of goods and services. That is actually what the definition is. But let's bring it back home. Let's say you had 100,000 naira now, and you put that 100,000 naira underneath your bed. At the end of the year, if the inflation rate is 11% per annum, your money is worth only 89,000 naira. And that's because inflation is a thief and it steals from you. Sorry, can I have a pen? Is there like a pen for this board? So inflation just basically steals from you. That is just what inflation does. So the average investor is thinking of how to snatch back whatever inflation has stolen from you or from him or her. That's the job. You want to snatch it back. So whatever you're investing, the very first thing you're going to ask is, what percentage am I getting from this investment? Then you have to ensure that at the very minimum, the percentage is equal to the inflation rate. So let's say inflation rate is 11% and the return on your savings account in Nigeria is 5%. Is that a good return or not? It's not, because it's not sufficient to cover what inflation has taken away from you. So basically, whatever you're investing at a point where your interest is equal to your inflation rate, you're protecting the purchasing power of your what? Of your money. That's basically what you're doing. So at the very minimum, you want your money to retain its power. Now imagine if you're actually now getting more than the inflation rate, which is now really fantastic, then there's a higher return. But there are now other things that actually come into play here, because you don't want to say that in a bid to get way more than inflation rate, you actually now risk your money and you lose everything. So we also have to balance out the risk, the return, the inflation. Like it's a whole different dynamic, and we're able to actually balance all three of it. Are we together? Yes. Okay, great. So we're just going to, I wanted the pen so I could just sort of paint a picture of why inflation should be very important to you. We have the National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria. Their job is to calculate the inflation rate. Anytime we mention any percentage here, we're assuming that the percentage is per what? It's per annum. So on the average, when we're assuming that it's per annum. That's the very average. Thank you. So in order for the National Bureau of Statistics to arrive at an inflation rate, what they do is that they get a basket. In that basket, they put in different items into it. So in this basket, they will put in things like rent, food, water, electricity, and all of that. But can I shock you? In Nigeria, what goes into the basket, 60% of it is what? Food. Because they want to capture the average inflation of the average Nigerian. So they want to be able to account for Mama Nkechi that is somewhere in Aba, that is in a remote village, and with her earnings. They want to capture Musa in Nasarawa that only has a farm and is only bringing like 10K per month for him and his family. They want to cover the average Nigerian. If 70% of us are living under the poverty rate, then clearly 70% of us are not earning that much, and we are supposed to account for the average of all Nigerians. And that is how you arrive at the inflation rate, the average inflation rate. Now, if 60% of your money is going towards food, if 60% of your money is going, if the 60% of what is used to calculate inflation is going towards food, let's say your rent is probably like what, 5%. I will check what rent is, but it's a very small slice. And when you look at imported goods, very tiny slice, maybe like 4%. If you to ask the average person living in Lagos, or the average person that is considered middle class or higher middle class, or just thereabout, oh, by the way, you're probably thinking maybe it's not you. If you're earning up to 80,000 naira a month, you're actually a middle class. Yes, interesting, very interesting. So, and if you look at the rent, many people, their rent is about 3 months of their salary. Yeah. That's what, 25%. That's what rent is. But guess what this thing is capturing as rent? Less than 5%. So your reality differs from the average inflation. Are we together? Yeah. So even when you look at things like imported goods, looking at things like petrol, looking at things like, and you know that this food that we are calculating is like food like fish, gari. So if you're using things like imported butter and you're doing prawns and any other of those cereals, it's not captured. Every time you go to the restaurant and you have fancy meals, it's not under this food. So where am I going with all of what I'm saying? And oh, by the way, in the UK, food is about less than 30% of the inflation basket. In the US, food is about 33% of the inflation basket. It is a real capture of the average American, because the average American is doing they're just right there. Unlike of us that we have such a big slide, where 70% is here, and then 30% is here. So when they're trying to get everybody on the same scale, it doesn't tell my story, and it doesn't tell their story. All right, so that's what inflation is. So where am I going with all of this? There's a very high chance that your own inflation rate is actually higher. Sure, there's no height, and I'm certain that we're in this room, your inflation rate is higher than the average inflation rate. Now, before we move forward, talking about inflation rate and investment returns, Now, we are saying that as of the last result, inflation is 11.08%. Yeah? If we find an investment option that gives us 12%, is that good or is that bad? All right. So in accounting terms, they call this inflation, they call this number here, or this investment, it's called a nominal return. It's a nominal return because that is what is on the face of that investment. So they say, so come and invest in this investment deal, I'm going to give you 12%. Oh, this is it. So it's nominal, it's a face value, it's 12%. However, there's something called a real return. A real return means that I've captured inflation rates. So technically, my real return is then what? 0.92. Are you saying it?
Yes.
As long as the real return is positive, so even if it is 0.01, it's okay. Yeah? What we don't want is minus something. Is this point clear?
Yes.
So we know what real return is, we know what nominal rate is, and we know what and how inflation is being captured. It's called a basket of commodities. Oh, no, weighted average basket. That's. All right, cool stuff. Let's go to the next thing. Budgeting. How many people here have a budget? How many people actually stick to their budget? Yeah, it's a very I don't know, but remember what we said about how money is first of all what? Psychological? Before it is what? Before you can actually actualize it. It's really just, it's powerful. I remember there was a time, I think I was in Joburg then, I think I was 25. I was selected amongst another 7 people, we were 8 in total, and we were the top traders in Africa, something like that. We were doing like a competition. And they had brought in a psychologist, and I was thinking to myself, they had a PhD in psychology. When he was teaching us about stock markets, I was thinking, why? And then when we started the competition, I was like, oh, I now understand. Because first of all, it's here, starts here first. And it's really, really amazing as to how it starts first in the mind before it then goes to every other thing. So you actually need to, it's a habit thing, something you learned over the years, something you actually teach yourself. There are some people that cannot sleep past 5 a.m. They've done it for so many years, they've taught themselves, they know the repercussions, especially if you studied in boarding house. So they've worked on your mind, you've told your mind to get up every day at 5 a.m., you've done it repeatedly, and then now it's stopped. You can't. There's certain people, I remember there was a time I was speaking with someone, and even though well-traveled, studied at INSEAD, that's one of the best business schools in the world, and still, the kind of conversation, and I just knew that there was no point, because if this person with all of this exposure, gone to INSEAD and speaking like this is a lost case, there's nothing you can do to re-engineer it. There was no point, I didn't bother myself, I knew that there was no point. So the mind is a great asset, it's very, very important. Actually, everything starts there. And I have to give credit to everyone that has deliberately made a choice and made a decision to actually re-engineer it. That is actually where the real work starts. You can start saving today and then people, oh, I did a much effort. I'm happy you started. The question that you can continue. So that's why we're doing this, just to ensure that people actually stay on the path and actually don't drop out. All right, so how do I allocate my income? We have the 50-30-20 method. 50% goes towards your essentials, things that you cannot live without. So that is rent, that is electricity, utility bills, transportation, groceries, and insurance. 30% goes towards your wants, things that you can live without. So luxury butter. It's really possible to shop for groceries. And even still under these groceries, we have things that are still luxury and things that are essential. So when you're buying your fancy bottle of wines, I was speaking at an event and they gave me this wine that is like very old, aged bottle. That's a luxury. It's not a necessity. So yeah, your luxuries sit here. Oops. And then your investments sit here. But let me tell you why I wouldn't stick to this method every time. This is a permanent marker. It's hard to wipe. Oops. Thank you. Sorry, this is a permanent marker. I'd like to wipe, but do we have any other board? Okay, let's do a quick math. Since we don't have a board, I actually want you to please stay with me. If you're earning 100,000, yeah? Yeah, and they're telling us to invest how much? 20%. 20% of 100,000 is how much?
20,000.
So that means your expenses is how much? Stay with me, come on. How did we get to 50,000?
You say expenses.
And now, these two things are expensive.
Oh, is that
Oh yeah, tell me, why are you planning of putting this? I'm just kidding. It's 80%, right? So we have 80,000.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now you prayed, and Jesus is so merciful, and Allah is like, my child, you worked so hard, and you moved to 250K, right?
Yeah.
And now 20% of 250,000 is how much?
50,000.
And your expense is how much?
200.
All right. So now, guys, tell me, how much did your investment grow by? How much did your investment grow by? Huh? Guys, your investment grew by 30,000 because you had an increase in what? Salary. Or increase in income, because it could even be your own freelancing hustle. Well, how much did your expenses increase by? Exactly, but nobody's doing this calculation. So can you see what has happened? You increased your investments by what? And you increased your expenses by what? So when you get a salary increase, please do not sit on that percentage. Jack it up. Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
Jack it up. And you have to be very intentional about these things.
So that means your expenses doesn't necessarily have to increase.
Why? It doesn't have to increase. See, it's okay to have a better lifestyle. Because now, like I was telling my friends, I'm not doing budget travel anymore. When I was in university and when I just started working, it's okay. I can put a bag behind my back, and we are running all over Dubai and we are sleeping in budget hotels. But I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done. But at the same time, so where am I going? It's okay. We have to increase your expenses. Life is for the living. Nobody's taking this money anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But it's just doing a balance. Just doing a balance. So what has happened here? This person has manufactured 120,000 expenses, worth of expenses. They manufacture it. So all of a sudden, the patcha is not good enough. Now it's time to move to Surulere. Or that thing is not good enough. You have to move. And it's fine. It's okay. Just doing it within what? Measures. And if you're actually very observant and very deliberate about it, it's a fantastic story. And that's why I actually want us to all keep the budgets. I met this family, and they've been keeping the budget for 5 years. So when the whole market, the Naira dropped and everything, they saw a beautiful curve. Because you know the beautiful thing about Excel sheets, it shows you the story. They could see a curve, how their food increased. They could see, once you have another child, you see how your numbers are changed. It's a fantastic story. So try and draw your partner in and both of you go on that journey. Because what sometimes happens is also resentment. So if two people on the boat actually know that we are both trying to achieve this, we are both trying to do this, it's an easier journey. And we need to be comfortable. I was in a WhatsApp group and they're planning a weekend holiday, and I think it was going to be to Tapa Bay for a weekend. I think it was 50,000, something like that. I don't know what my timetable is looking like, so I can't commit. And one of the girls said, I am really on cash and I'm not able to do this now. I just started to scream. I was clapping for her. That is amazing. It was a group of about 200 people. We've been taught to be, it's uncomfortable to talk about money. You feel uncomfortable talking and then you don't have it. Why? Why? Are you not tired? How old are we now? No, but let's get real. We're not adults. You guys, aren't you tired of you signaling your? Aren't you tired? So I was really impressed by it. I actually had to point it out and do that. It's really, really amazing. I'm glad you said this. And it's actually okay if you don't have it. And nobody has it, then they don't have to go on the trip. It's just these honest conversations. SLB, I'm sorry, I don't have it, I don't plan to. I don't like it, say it, I don't. My friends know me that I'm not with them, they're not my closest buddy. I'm not buying, it's not a secret, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. No, I have just 2 friends left. It's not that I'm going to get married. So I'm not sugarcoating it or anything, I'm not buying it. And it's okay. And they start trusting and respecting you for it. The same thing happens with black tax. because many people have their parents dependent on them or family members or something like that. Based on research, the average one person have about 5 people they are supporting, and that's because of the poverty levels and unemployment and things like that. And you actually have to start being strategic about it. So instead of always giving that brother or that sister money, have you thought of how to actually look for an opportunity for them? And I have this cousin of mine, give her Excel spreadsheet. Every time there's scholarship, I'm sending it to her. Do you get? Every time there's job, I also want an update so that we are on this journey, it's the two of us. Give me an update. So, you know, when sometimes you apply for something, you say, thank you, we've received your, I want to see a receipt. So you're also sitting down on that whole personal development seat and you're actually following through and seeing that they're actually making plans for it. But it could be family members, let's say their kids, their own children are not doing that great. Started helping them look for opportunities for them, but they even make a one-off investment too, so that they can build skills and then that weight gets off your shoulders. It's a long-term kind of planning. You have to see, they are not going to disappear, yeah? Only if you're wishing them death, and you shouldn't. So they're not going to disappear, it's really just what it is. So honest conversation, sit down on the table. How are we going to solve this? I have an aunt that, even though she needs something, she knows that Tosin will give me after every 3 months. So she's not going to disturb me because I've trained her and she knows that I'm going to give her after 3 months. So no matter what, she's not calling me because she knows I'm going to fulfill my words. So you can train them like that. Instead of all that fear, put a structure into it and then train them that this is how I want to go about it. Easier said than done, but once you start and then you can gradually just try and stick to it. Very deliberate. So we've spoken about how to do this whole budgeting thing and how it's very, very important. You know where your money is going to. And you're also motivated. You know when you put this number into money, you start saying that, wait, I can't afford my lifestyle and goods. I actually genuinely cannot afford it. So what is the way out? How aggressive I am about getting a new job or getting a raise in income or actually looking for somewhere out, because the numbers are now in your face. Nobody's in denial. I know some people that are actually very scared to go back to their bank statement to see how they spend because it's always very like, oh my gosh, I can't do this happening. You can lie to other people, you can lie to everyone, but you cannot lie to who? You can't lie to yourself. So it's like one of those conversations. The next thing is, if you need an app to help you do that, there's something called you need a budget. It's in dollars though, so. But if you don't want to do an Excel sheet and you just want to use an app, you need a budget to help you do that. We also have another app called Find Rich. Find Rich is created by Nigerians for Nigerians. So if you're to go to a place like Germany, they know it's a restaurant. And if you're to go to a place like Wando, they know it's a filling station. You know, the system has been trained to understand all these different facilities in Nigeria and what they actually stand for. But whenever you have to withdraw cash, then you have to input it into the app and tell the app what you did with the cash, because technology also has, it's not a witch. They don't know that you withdrew the cash to give it to someone, so you have to tell it. All right, Find Rich. Yeah, Find Rich, that's the name of the app. And you need a budget, Find Rich is the name of the app, and then you need a budget. That's the one figure of the budget. The next one is emergency fund. So this is a very interesting conversation, and you do the research asking people, when do you need an emergency fund? And 3 things came up. Number 1 is health. There's been 4 ill that wasn't planned for, and how can we mitigate that risk? We spoke about the health insurance. There's Hygeia, there's Reliance HMO. I think they do about 3K every month, and they cover quite a number of things. Then the next one they said was funeral. There's, you see, culture. There's some culture in Nigeria that are very, very heavy on big funeral. So how do you solve that? I know there's some funeral insurance plan, but also that's very tricky. Imagine now your parents are like 60 or 65, and you're asking them for their details that you want to open an insurance account for them should they die. It's going to be an uncomfortable conversation, but that option is there if you want to explore it. The third one is when people lose their job. So that is when they also need an emergency fund. And how can you mitigate the risk in terms of transition? Number 1, visibility. It's very, very critical to be visible. Many people are doing excellent and really fantastic things, and people don't know that you do that. So you can actually be a subject matter expert. Also, for the women in the room, about 85% of all the things written out there are written by men. You have subject matter intelligence and knowledge, but you're not writing about it. I remember before I started writing, I used to stop the Guardian, and I'd send them several articles, and they were not going to respond to me. But what happened was that I think one of their favorite writers, I think somebody bailed out on them. So that this girl that has always been something, so they said it should, and that was it. That was how I got it. For BBC, I did a video explaining GDP on Twitter, and it went, can I say viral? 2,400 people watched it at that point. When from BBC reached out to me, she used hashtag of GDP Nigeria, she found me, and that was when Theresa May, is that her name? Yeah, Theresa May, right? She was coming to Africa for the whole Brexit thing, and they wanted me to talk about it. And that's how now I'm a BBC regular. So visibility, there's so much knowledge, and you're just holding on to it. And it will never be perfect. You're waiting to let it be super, super perfect. No, when something happens in your space, write about it, give your opinion, put it on LinkedIn. Everybody's talking about Instagram, but LinkedIn is still super powerful, and likewise Twitter. It's funny how, in terms of visibility and coverage, I get a lot from Twitter and LinkedIn, but in terms of selling, I get that from Instagram. So for knowledge-based activities, you can actually go very heavy on LinkedIn and Twitter. It's a very high on knowledge. They respect knowledge-based things. So right. So yeah, so writing, networking, and also your LinkedIn page. Recruiters know when you've lost your job or when you've resigned. Because you now start propping it up, and you don't have to wait for them to prop it up. Every time you do something at work, update it, join circles, get people from your work to write a recommendation for you on LinkedIn. Be very deliberate, put your best foot forward. Go and take a professional picture, change your headshot on it. And I'm not bragging, but while I was doing Money Africa, because even though Money Africa is, so they probably thought it was, I'm passing time while I'm doing for the perfect job. And I'm not bragging. Almost every 3 months, there's a foreign recruiter in my DM that was trying to coach me. And that's deliberate, you're making it nice, make it beautiful, write nice things, reframe. There are people that help people do that. You know that whole shot by, sorry guys, keep touching it. Yeah, so basically that's it for the emergency fund. So we have, in case of health, we have funeral, and we have loss of job. And we've spoken about ways in order to mitigate or easily transition from these options. So how much should be in my emergency fund is very tricky in the sense that, but what they've advised, it should be about, at the very minimum, 3 months of your living expense. So if you use 100K to survive every month, rent, electricity, food, that you really need to survive, yes, you should have 3 months of it stashed somewhere else. Another reason why we need to have an emergency fund is because of the cost. If you don't have, and you've gone to all family members and they don't have it, the next thing is for you to take a loan. And microfinance banks in Nigeria give loans for about 5% per month. So if you annualize that, how much is that? 60% per annum, exactly. So it's very important for us to have an emergency fund just in case. And it has to be somewhere accessible that you can have access to within 24 hours. So if I want to invest where, finally we are here, but it was very important for us to talk about all the other things that require mindset and the psychological business. We have several asset classes. I'm just going to start from the very first one. Fixed assets or savings. So, if our inflation rate, not if actually, our inflation rate is 11.08%, and we're having an average of savings which is approximately 5% across the banks, and let's say you were fixing your deposit approximately 10% across the banks, is this a good return or not? No, it's not. The next one is microfinance. Whenever people hear about microfinance, they're thinking of loan company, microfinance companies. But in actual fact, a microfinance is a loan company. It gives loans, yes, but remember that they operate like a bank, just that the difference is that they're taking up more risk. How do the banks make their money? Shade, Abake, Chioma, Sule, we all put our money there as savings. They take our savings, they loan it out to some people, then they earn an interest, which is on the savings, right? Which is, they earn an interest on the loan they've given out to people, which is an interest income to them. That's like their core. Then they also have the opportunity to use the savings to do what? To to invest in treasury bill. So they place it in fixed income assets. And then they earn an income. So now that's like, there are two key ways. So if you look at the top line for the bank, that is the two ways they make money, right? And I'm sure they also make money on, like, there will be other people, those are like exceptional items, but in terms of the core line, that is how they make money. So the same thing with microfinance. Everybody just thinks of microfinance as they give loans. But how are they getting the money to give loans? They also take investments. So unlike of when in the bank is called savings, for a microfinance company, they call it like a fixed deposit. So people fix their deposit with them and they also get an interest on it. So the interest is approximately from 16 to what? 20% thereabouts, which is higher than inflation rate. It could change depending on the amount of capital you're working with. The next one is treasury bills. Everybody has heard of treasury bills before? Quite popular, yeah?
I'd like to ask,
That's fine.
everybody knows some microfinance banks, they close up as easily as they open.
That's true.
So, how do you know what you want to check?
All right, thank you so much for asking that question. That's very, very fantastic. In 2018 or 2017, yeah, the Central Bank of Nigeria withdrew the licenses of 135 microfinance banks. And they withdrew their license because risk. So, in the past, you needed what? About 20 million to get a license. So 20 idiots with 1 million naira each can actually come together to form one. And then what happens if they then go over your money? So remember when we spoke about being protective and being defensive, and that's why we put in the examples of Red Money and Page Financials in the sense that they always, Red Money and Page Financials in the sense that they always protect. They have strong track record of management, so that those are the two key things we're looking at. They have so much to lose that they've been around for a while instead of getting in. So we're speaking about treasury bills, right? A treasury bill is when the government needs money, they come to the general public and they're like, we need some money. And if you don't have up to 50 million, you cannot get it directly from the bank of the government, which is what? The CBN. So what happens? The institutions then crowd funds, that is, they put people together, and then they still go to the CBN to get the treasury bill. So for the government, it's a loan, and for us, it's what? It's an investment. And the interest rate of the treasury bill, it fluctuates. And inflation rate is one of the key determinants. And there are times that they will try and pop it up or pop it down in order to just sort of sway the angle or sway the direction based on, like, in terms of, because treasury bills are not fixed. When I say they're not fixed, meaning that it could change next month or the next, it goes with what is happening in the markets. In 2017, in February, treasury bill was paying out as high as 20%. Yeah, but it's now currently about 11%. And if you notice, in that same 2017, inflation rate was extremely high. It was about 17 to 18%. So what the treasury bill does in Nigeria, at the very minimum, it gives you a return that is almost equal to your inflation rate. So whenever you invest in treasury bill, you are protecting what the value of your money. So there might not be a real growth as such, but at the very minimum, the value of your money is being protected. So interest is paid upfront, meaning that let's say you were investing 100,000 and then you naira, and the interest rate is 11%. What happens is that you get paid 11,000 naira upfront, and then you pay the 89,000 naira to the bank, and at the end of the duration, you get 100,000 naira back. Let's take that again. Great. But the way they always report it could be confusing. So let me show you what has happened on the market. So they have one for 91 days, and they said it's 9.98%. And they have another one for 364 days, and that one is like what, 11.5%. Now, if a person invested in treasury bills and left it with them for 91 days, well, should the person be expecting 9.98%? Don't worry, guys, feel free. It's something different. It's okay. It's not right. Feel free. So, this is how they list on the CBN or even on their platforms. This is the most recent rate. I think this was, checked this about last week. 91 days, 9.98%. 364 days, 11.5%. In 91 days, if you waited for just 3 months, would you get 9.98% to your bank account? Will you get 9.98%? Is that what the interest you get? Okay, so everyone is saying yes. In actual fact, it's actually no. They report it like a year, but if it is not up to the duration of a year, what do you need to do? You need to apportion, because they are saying 91 days. So you actually have to apportion. What will happen here is that you take 9.98%, right? You multiply it by 91 divided by how many days are in a year? 365. For T-bills, they assume it's 364. But I get it, it won't even make a difference, just one. But yeah, you get it. So we just say 364. And then you do this math. So when this math works out, it works out to about 2.49 or 2.4 thereabout. Are we together?
Yes.
So that is what you get in 3 months because you did not hold it for an entire year. But based in accounting, when they are speaking about percentages, they are assuming that it's for a year. Only if they had said something different. Are we together?
Yes.
All right, cool. So now, if you were to stay for 365 days, you would get this one at 11.5%. Are we together?
Yes.
So that's how it works. Well, you can see that the 91 days option does not cover inflation rate, but the return is really it's just okay. And I think what happens here is that, especially for those that are working with a large number of money, so if you're working with like a 10 million, or you're working with like 100 million, even 100 or 1 million, like it works out to be like a lot. But still, rather go for the longer period one. But if you just have money sitting down, it's not doing anything, there's 3 months gap. Nobody will say no to 2.5. It's still something. Do you get? Yeah. So it's okay to actually look at safe, because this is safe. It is backed by the government. There's no stories or anything. Yeah. So it's secure. The next one is government bond. Government bond is very similar to treasury bill in the sense that they are both government instruments and they are both very safe and secured. However, the problem with the government, not a problem, the difference with the government bond is that the interest rate is paid after every 6 months. So after every 6 months, you get paid an interest. And that's how a government bond works. Unlike on the treasury bill that you get paid upfront. So you lock down the interest rate for that month. Now let's go back to 2017. In February, the interest rate was about, for T-bills was about 19%. In December, the interest rate for T-bills was about 13%, there about 13 or 14. If you are taking a government bond instead of a T-bill, they would use the interest rate as of that month of 6 when they are paying you out. They would use it based on what is happening in the market. You don't lock it down. But for treasury bill, once you've paid it, you've taken your money, that's it. You've locked down the interest rate. I can take it again in case you didn't understand it. Nothing is guaranteed. Today is 11.08. In December, let's say inflation grows all of that, it could be 18%. But for a treasury bill, if you buy it today at 11.08%, chicken, cheers, close, deal. But if it was a government bond that you bought, it will be reviewing the interest rate after every 6 months. So your interest rate will be participating in what the new rate will be in the future. Are we saying that? That's because it's long-term in nature. You have 2 years, you have 5 years, you have 10 years, you have 20 years. So it's long-term in nature, and that's why. The next one is a commercial paper. What is a commercial paper? A commercial paper is a private sector treasury bill. So this is when the companies want to take a loan and they come to the general public to take a loan. So you can have a Dangote Cement do that. And they did that earlier in the year. You have Sterling Bank, you have Zenith, you have Polaris Bank. But you must remember that not everybody is on the same level. I'm talking about in terms of financial strength. So they actually grade these companies. So one could have like A++++, another one could have like a B. Technically what they're saying is this: the strength of the Dangote Cement is not the same strength as the Polaris Bank. Now this will also determine the kind of interest that they will actually give you. At the very minimum, a commercial paper will give you an interest that is higher than a treasury bill because they are trying to compensate you for the additional risk taken. Because remember that the government is the strongest backer of any instrument. So any other person that wants you to take your money from you, has to compensate you with a little bit more. Are we together?
Yes.
Exactly. So that is called a risk premium, compensating you for a bit more. You need about 5 million to actually access it, but there is another way to actually get it without you having that 5 million. The next one is a mutual fund. I'm sure everybody must have heard about a mutual fund at some point.
Yes.
Have we?
Yes.
It's like the new hot cake, everybody. Mutual fund, mutual fund, mutual fund. So what is a mutual fund? A mutual fund is like a pie or like a pizza. So everybody can bring their different slices of a pizza to make up the big pizza. Are we together?
Yes.
So you bring your slice of pizza together and we all form a big circle. So we are now able to participate in the big circle that we were previously not able to participate in if we did not have the entire circle. So we all join funds, join resources together. What is the difference between a mutual fund and an ajo? A mutual fund has a fund manager, a professional. This lady or this guy has gone to school, learned about finance, they are experts and they help you make decisions. And ajo, literally people coming together, not necessarily experts, so none of them actually really know about money, everybody's just taking a turn and passing the money around. But this person has an expert on board. Now the next thing is that they then invest it in assets. Again, now I will compare mutual funds to rice. So we could have different types of rice, that is we have coconut rice, we have jollof rice, we have native rice. What's the key feature of a coconut rice? What's the key feature of a jollof rice? Pepper, tomato. What happens? Even though that they are all rice, once you dip your rice into coconut sauce, it gives it that flavor. Once you dip your rice into tomato sauce, it gives it that flavor. The same thing with mutual fund. Now that we've taken everybody's money, once we dip that money into a money market mutual instrument, meaning treasury bill, commercial paper, are we together? So now that's a money market mutual fund. That means that we're investing in risk-free assets that you can actually go and sleep. You can open a money market mutual fund with as little as 5,000 naira, and then you do what? You just keep adding it. It's like putting a bucket underneath a tap, and then what happens? Tip, 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 the tap, what? The bucket does what? It grows, it fills up. So that's basically how a money market mutual fund is. The current interest rate is about 12% there now. It was about 13% earlier in the year, but remember that it changes with what's happening in the market, because at the end of the day, it's the treasury bill and the commercial paper that are the ones that are what? Invested in. So what does money market fund invest in?
Real estate.
What does a money market fund invest in? Guys, you need to pull me back, because I feel like half of the class is with me and half of the class is not with me. And again, we're investing our time and our money, so we should be able to get most of it out of this. Remember we spoke about how a fund, what determines a fund, what goes into it, right? What they invest in. And I said that a money market mutual fund means that you're investing in what? Treasury bill and commercial paper. It's not forex, it's not real estate, it's not any other thing. The only thing a money market mutual fund invests in is what? Treasury bill and what? Commercial paper. These are risk-free assets. If they put your money in forex, you can take them to court because you never agreed for them to do that with your money. Are we together? So the job of a money market mutual fund is what? Treasury bills and commercial papers, risk-free assets. Great. If they put that mutual fund into shares, the equity market, stock, that is what? That is an equity mutual fund. Are we together? Yes. If they do any other thing with it, then again you can take them to court because they are going against what was agreed and what the fund is. The reason why people have a fund is because you want people to help you manage your money and you want to go about and do what you do best. You want to be an excellent lawyer, an excellent mom, excellent soccer player, whatever else you do, and you've given them the authority to help them invest in it. So to help you invest your money, so they have to do what the fund, because that was what everybody agreed to. If they do anything otherwise, then it's a problem. So a money market mutual fund invests in what? Equity fund invests in what?
Yes.
Exactly. All right. And also for the purpose of full disclosure, equity fund, sometimes they will have some cash left, or sometimes they will put some of your cash in a treasury bill. But at least 75% or more than 50% of that fund is going towards what? Equity. That's the whole aim why they did that, to put in equity. Now, let's just talk briefly about an equity fund. Oh, we do it on time. Okay, let's go next to equity. So this was how the stock market performed in 2017. It was the second best performing market in the world. It delivered 42%. That was the Nigerian Stock Exchange, but right after Argentina. So if you had put in 100,000, it would have been 142,000 at the end of the year. If you put in $1 million, it would have been 1.4 million at the end of the year. 42%, which is really, really amazing. But guess what? Last year, it did just about 18%, minus 18%. As of today, it's about minus 11%. So for stock market in Nigeria, I'd advise you to look at it from a long-term angle. And if you don't have the time or the knowledge, then don't play the whole short term. But some people that sit in the stock market, they make quite a good number they make quite a killer because that's their day job. Like they are monitoring and timing the market. But I really love what I do. I'm trying to build a global company. I don't want to sit down and be, when is it going to do 10%? When is it going to do 20%? I want to choose my stock and I want to live. In the words of Warren Buffett, he says if you cannot invest in something for 10 years, why are you doing it? To what? To make what? Quick money? So that if you always have to go around with that idea or that mentality that if I can't invest in this thing for 10 years, why am I doing it? Then to help people make better decisions. You are okay to change your mind. Maybe 2 years from now you realize that maybe I don't really like how these guys are going about this. That's fine. But at the point where you're making that decision, if you're already having second doubts that this is what 2 months, 3 months, just maybe, you shouldn't be doing that. All right, next. Equities. Did you know that Warren Buffett bought his first stock at the age of 11? And that is why we need to start speaking to children early about money. So speaking to them about money, about having a budget, about the stock market. Well, how is it possible to teach them if we don't know it ourselves? You understand? Having to expose them to all these kind of materials. I'm actually writing a book for children and I'm hoping to launch it soon. So just getting them to know what it is, like just introducing them early. Many people start learning about money very, very late, and we should actually start having that conversation very early. So how do you make money from the stock market? You have earnings by capital appreciation, and you have by dividends. So what is a capital appreciation? Let's say you bought a share for 5 naira, and the share goes all the way from 5 naira to 10 naira. That is capital appreciation. Are we together?
Yes.
And then, what is a dividend? A dividend is when you get paid at the end of the year, when the company has made a profit. So they give you some money. But now the thing is this, let's say UBA gives me 1 naira and Zenith Bank gives me 2 naira. On the surface, it will look like Zenith Bank is giving me what? More. But you can't compare like that. And that's why we have something called a dividend yield. So you take the dividend, let me use UBA for example. So UBA paid out 1 naira dividend, I think it was in 2018. At that point, their share price was what, 10 naira. So if you look at it from this angle, 1/10 is what? 10%. Now, Zenith paid out 2.7, and at that point, their share was what? 21 naira. What percentage is this? I'm trying to do the math from my head, but what do you guys think? I think it should be about 14 or 15%. Can anybody give me do the math? Or even 16? It's 2.7 over 21. 12.85. Great, thank you. All right, so you can then see that you can then look at them in different ways. So that way you can now compare this one to this one. You'll be like, you can even, they have shareholders meeting and people actually fight and do all of that. But this other bank is giving their people more and things like that. So basically that's how it is. You cannot compare dividends just like this. You have to divide it by the share price. Another way to know if your dividend yield is good or not, you have to ask yourself a question. If I was not investing in the stock market and I just left my money in treasury bills or as a savings at the bank, what would my money give me? Exactly. Then, if I invest it here, okay, I'm getting that much in treasury bill, and then my money has a chance of either growing or, in terms of like it could actually appreciate in value or not. Are you saying it? Because I have 2 ways to earn. I can earn by capital appreciation, and I can also earn via dividend. So if my dividend is already giving me what is equal to a money market, or to what is equal to inflation, and now my share price is now even growing small by small, you can see that I'm winning.
Yeah.
Yeah? So those are the two ways to check. You have dividend and you have what? Capital appreciation. Yeah, I feel like, is this like an information overload? Are we together?
Yes. Yeah.
So, in February 2018, I took a capture of what was happening in the market with the shares, and Stanbic had gone from 16 naira to 47 naira just in 1 year. Everybody that got Stanbic at this price, they are such winners because this is actually a solid stock. Zenith Bank had gone from 13 naira to this. I've never seen Zenith. I've always seen Zenith on the regular at about 20, 21, so like this is like really, really high for Zenith on the regular day. Access Bank, doing all the way to 13 naira, now it's back to like its 5 naira levels. GTB, from 23 naira to 56 naira 70 kobo, now it's back to 26 naira. So you can just see how crazy, like this happened just in 2018. Now all these prices are now back. Not all of them, but Stanbic is still a boss. Zenith is now at 20 naira. Access is still at this price. GTB is now at 27 naira, and then UBA is about 6 naira or so. So they went all this way and now they are going back. So it's always those that actually know how to time the market, will know how to get in and know where to get out. But if you're actually a long-term investor, you can just put some money, invest on the long run, enjoy your dividend, and just see what appreciate over time. We did a challenge, and I can remember the 10 years challenge that was happening at the beginning of the year. When everybody was like posting their different pictures, we did that for the stock market to see how the stock market performed. And guess who outperformed every other person? Nestle. Nestle delivered a solid 670%, and that's besides its dividend. So every year it was giving almost 70%. When it's not even. Yeah. So I'm trying to tell you, you have options. You have options. Don't let anybody with rich skin, whatnot, entice you. You actually have options. That's a fantastic delivery. And this is exclusive of its dividend. So yeah, we also have Stanbic did a relatively good job. We also have GTB doing a relatively good job over the space of 10 years. So, but at the same time, look at the window. So yeah, you still have some poor performer and you still have some good performers. At the end of the day, I'll always lean towards long-term investing, and it's really amazing how this thing grows. So you put 200K now, you put 100,000 now, no pressure, and you just grow it over the years. Like I really have no plan of selling some of my stock. I'd like to hand it over to my child. I have no plans of selling it. So it's small by small, 100K, 50K, you know what we spoke about, blocks building, exactly, and just be deliberate about it. But then you must also remember that you also have to be very careful in the sense that if you do the math, or when we did this analogy, just about 20 of the 168 stocks that are listed actually performed really well. Yeah. Netflix. So if you had invested 100,000 naira in Netflix in 2012, you could be sitting on 1.45 billion. Yeah. You could be sitting on 1.45 billion. So, and that's the thing about information. If people don't have information and don't know how to access it, they'll always be thinking of. Somebody was tweeting the other day that your 9 to 5 cannot give you beds, and I laughed. There are levels to this things, really, and there's also mindset. So, the person that was earning, let's say, 250K per month, or that had saved 100,000 naira in a year and invested 100,000 naira in Netflix, would have even would be selling beds now because to now be an inventory. Do you get? So, while it's good to earn good money, and I really advocate for people to earn good money, it's also very important to actually be very deliberate about where you put your money as well. Likewise, Tencent is a Chinese company in China. They do gaming apps, and China is like a closed economy. They're very, very closed. No, they don't allow Facebook. They actually have their own Twitter. They have their own everything. They even crushed Uber. So their own, what's it with Dido or something like that? It's absorbed Uber. So they're very, very, even Google. Yeah, I know Google was trying to make a re-entry into the market. They have their own search engine. They're very aggressive in terms of a closed economy. Yeah. So imagine 1.4 billion people gaming on one app and actually paying for it. By the way, they also have a higher purchasing power than we do. So it's actually a very interesting space in terms of investment. Yeah, so that's what Netflix has done and that's what Tencent has done. But there's something interesting that happened here. In the first 10 years of Netflix, what happened? Nothing. It was flat. But now the problem is many people cannot wait. They want to be the next billionaire. They don't want to put in long-term work and they don't want to wait. Here as well, similar story, long-term. So really, it's just really what it is. I know people say it all the time, talking about long-term investment and waiting the long-term game and all of that, but it's really, really, really amazing when people actually start. And that's the question you need to start asking. Like, I remember when I first started money, I feel like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, don't worry, this is long-term, this is long-term. So we need to actually have a portion of our investment that we're actually looking at a long-term kind of move. What's going to happen in the next 20 years? And you're very deliberate, so they will think you're a fool or you're being stupid, but you know what you're doing, that you're actually playing a long-term game. So what's going to happen in the next 20 years? How are you planning for that 20 years? What are you putting in place? What structure are you building for the next 20 years? Many people are in my DM all the time. So how much can I make in 3 months, 6 months? Why will you people ever ask me of 10 years? Why is it always 3 months and 6 months? So it's a nice thing to have in mind. So can I buy equities myself? Yes, you can. We are very simple African Investors have investment one. For global stock, there are a couple of Nigerian companies that are working on that to launch a product that gives access to Nigerians from Nigeria to actually invest in this. Can you please share with me the mailing list subsequent to the class? All right, so then I'm definitely just going to carry you guys along with information. Next is real estate, very subjective. Very subjective. Capital appreciation and rental income, meaning I bought my house for, I bought my land for 500K, it became 10 million. Rental income, I built on my land or I bought a house and they are paying me money for rent. If you want to know how much where you're living in is going to fall in the market, you can take your rent and you can multiply it by 20 and 9 out of 10 times it's right. So let's say you're paying 500K rent. There's a very high chance that if you were to buy that same house in the market, it's going to be going for about 10 million. High chance, not certain, high chance. So yeah, so what does that mean? That means that for those that have invested in that house, that means the return that they're getting is about 5%. Because remember, 1 divided by 20 is what? 1 divided by 20 is what? In terms of percentages, 1 divided by 20 is what? 0.05. So when it's percentages, it's about 5%. So if you're assuming that 20 years worth of rent is equivalent to what the house could be going for on the market, can you see what that tells us about the house? So look at the annual fee, the annual rent multiplied by 20, and there's a very high chance, especially on the island. That's really so. If there's somebody paying rent of 1 million naira. Just go and check on the internet. Their neighbors are selling for their house similar to that house for 20 million. It's like it's a kind of rule that sort of works. So if you are getting 5% interest on your house, if you're the one that bought the house and that is your interest, knowing that you can get like 12% of the treasury bill and even get more for a commercial paper and even get more for agri-tech, there's a very high chance you'll be asking yourself, so why am I buying this house anyways? Right? But then there's another catch here in the sense that capital appreciation. How about if the property blows in the next 20 years? Sometimes it's also that emotional purchase. Many people just, it's mine, it's my house, kind of. So just, I'm not going to say yes or I'm not going to say no. I guess everybody just have to do that math themselves and make that decision. And also don't be afraid to pay for experts to actually give you an insight on the neighborhood and like a deeper insight before you make that choice. There's something that the rich people do very, very well. They're very, very aggressive about always getting professionals, lawyers, financial people. It's always the middle class that are always scheming and gaming and trying to cut and chop the market. All right. Next is agri-tech. Has anybody heard of farm crowding?
Yes.
And what's the other one? And farmer, agro partnership, the rest of them. So basically the knowledge behind this is that The thinking behind this is that everybody's going to come and put their money together and then they're going to invest it in something. Again, this could also work as a Greek mutual fund, similar concept. Remember when we spoke about what a mutual fund is and how what they dip it in, you actually invest? And the return is actually quite high. Some of them pay as high as 30% in 6 months. Some of them pay like 30% in a year. So for those that are looking for aggressive returns, that offers. But like the very next thing we always ask is, what is the security? How long is it going to be here for? So if you look at that, we're saying that a company is insured. There's something in audit we call a third-party verification, where you actually reach out to the third party and ask them that, is this insured or not? What has happened with a lot of those companies is that sometimes the insurance company would insure a particular farm and not insure another one, right? So what happens if the farm that is insured has a problem, or if they cannot deliver, the insurance company is not securing your capital. What they're actually doing is this: they will restate the farm to where it was before the crisis happened. Are we together? So let's say that there was a drought or there was a pest infection or something. They would replace all the crops, or let's say all the chicks died. What's that? There's a sickness that these chicks have, also, or pigs, or Lassa fever or something. What do you say? That, yes, that. They'll replace everything and they'll reinstate it to the point where it was before they had the crisis. So their own job is not to give you your own money back. They are insuring the farm. So they are reinstating it to where it was, so that when anything happens, then you have to start a procedure all over again to be able to get people's money out. I think the oldest one is Farm Crowdy was the first. And so far, none of them have had any problem. I guess the biggest risk here is if anything happens, you might just have to wait for a longer period to get your money back, because the insurance is not going to give you your money, they're going to fix the farm and then give them a chance to farm again. All right, so that is it for agri-tech. There are lots of them now in the market, so please reach out to whoever they say their insurance is, Leadway or any of those people, and actually ask questions. Because remember what we said about protecting our capital, that is very, very important. The next one is cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency basically is like a technology that enables people to set up businesses. And I remember when cryptocurrency became a fad and everybody was like jumping on it. But I always ask myself, the first question to ask is, what is the business behind it? Many people cannot explain the business behind it, and because they cannot, they jump into it. So at the end of the day, it's still what is the business behind it. There's a company here in cryptocurrency that is called SureRemit. It's, you know that Nigerians remitted $25 billion to Nigeria last year. Nigerians in diaspora. Yeah, so it's a huge, even the government is looking for how to be using their money to invest in, because they are doing a fantastic job. What they remit back home is even, compared to what our budget is, it's really huge. So Nigerians in diaspora are really, really pulling their weight and they're sending money back home, which we really need. And somebody on this SureRemit company is working on a platform that makes it very easy for money to be remitted back home. It's going to be faster and they're going to cut down the cost. So if you were to go to a MoneyGram or Western Union, I think the average cost is about 10% to 8%. This company was willing to do it for about 2% and they want to make it fast. So like, are we having to go to the Western Union with like my proof of identity or anything? That in my bedroom, the alert has come through. Yeah, so that is the business. You need to be able to ask, what is the business? And don't let anybody bamboozle you with, oh, it's cryptocurrency, it's like fancy tech product. What is the business doing? So before you invest in anything, you actually need to be able to answer that question. What is the business solving? Again, it takes time, so you actually need to be able to do your research to actually know exactly what problem the business is trying to solve. Now, there are two kinds of coins. We have the alternative coins and we have the regular coin. The alternative coin are the smaller players, like you having the Botswana Pula, or to having the Ghanaian CDs, or the Zambian Kwacha, or the Nigerian Naira, meaning that they don't have that much weight. They are not easily exchangeable. While the regular coin are like the big boys. So those are the Bitcoin and the Ethereum. They are more powerful and they can be easily what? Exchanged. I just put a graph there to show you how the market did from a high to a dip, quite volatile. The biggest problem here with risk is, and I find that a lot of young people as well, is that you're either taking too much risk or taking too little risk. Consider the risk profile of a cryptocurrency. Many people put in 90% of their money there. Is it not crack? Like, yeah, because it's crazy. It's very volatile. You can't put 90% of your money there. That's really, really crazy. The next one is investing in startups. Like, this is like the new hot thing now. Everybody wants to start a business, which is actually not a bad thing. But I realized that many a time it's coming from a point of necessity. It's coming from survival, as opposed to trying to build something, that is really, really solving needs and attending to problems. But that being said, they said that 4 in every 5 fail. But what if you succeed? There was a lady that came to one of my classes. She sells weight loss pills, and she said she makes approximately 3 million every quarter. So just by selling weight loss tea, I never knew that people would buy that weight loss tea like that. I was so surprised. Like, yeah, like really tea? Ah, okay. So that's what she does. So I guess the number one rule here is actually being able to have a personal finance plan, separating your private account from your business account. You are 2 different entities, and being able to have that energy from day one. When I go at a business person and I want to deal or transact with them, and I ask for their bank account and I actually see their personal account, there and then my mind has already discounted them, like, this is a hobby, this is a side hustle, this is a hobby, you're actually not serious. So if you're actually serious, you actually treat it well. And some people as well, later on, they might struggle with getting investors if they always treat that business like a personal one. So I knew that there was a time this other person was going to get investors, and they were looking through and they were saying things like movies or staking a car, or like seeing like regular things, like literally using it like your own personal account. It says a lot about you. If an investor for me is a red flag, I would like, yeah. So just being able to separate both and treat them as separate entities. The next one is personal development. This is a very, very important part of this session. For every 1 naira you invest in yourself, you get what? 100 naira return. That's approximately 10,000 return over your lifetime. It's a very, very huge investment. So from investing in your mindset, from investing in visibility, actually writing, putting more things out there, from being very deliberate and actually having a game plan, investing in yourself, getting a good bed. I remember that I'd gone on holiday and I slept properly. And I was telling my friend, my gosh, I'm sleeping well. She's like, oh no, Tosin, because you're not in Nigeria. I said, no, that's not true. I slept really well. I actually got like 10 hours of sleep. I was like, oh no, it's because you're on holiday. I said, when I come back to Lagos, I'm changing my bed. And I did a research, I found a good bed, and I changed that bed and I slept. I was like, wow. I did not realize that something as little as investing in a mattress could actually make that change. Could even be painting your room, getting an interior decor person. That's your sanctuary. Like, some people have 14 or 20 pairs of shoes, and when you look at the house, like you're always looking for an escape. That is your escape. Invest in it. Put it up. Let it look nice. Let it look like a hotel. You're coming back to somewhere very nice. So just being able to like make those simple like changes. I wouldn't mind sacrificing a couple of clothes to actually just give that nice white look, and I feel I'm at home and I actually love being here. So I didn't realize that just changing that mattress was going to make such a significant change in my sleep and my rest. So personal investment, things that people might ordinarily consider as a cut-off kind of investment, go for it. Another thing somebody was asking me, that told him, how much will I spend on getting certificates? And Nigerians are actually very well educated. I mean, even me myself with all my degrees, and I'm still looking for more, and we always just want another thing, but also having to draw the line. I have this friend that goes for every course and everything, and like, your time is actually an opportunity cost, so you actually have to not be honest. Like, is this a nice to have, or do I actually need it? Because this is actually money that you could actually put elsewhere. So being honest with those questions, this is nice to have a big, so a lot of introspection. So from the clothes, for even things that you think is similarly well, from even your time that you think is similarly well, from even having to cook for, you're going for something that everybody should bring. I want to cook for everyone. It's going to cost my time, and not to talk about the energy of doing it. So just being very introspective and always asking yourself, is this a nice to have, or do I really have to do it? So personal development is very critical, so you're able to actually comfortably say no, even to things that seemingly look good. Sometimes good is the enemy of great. Could actually be great, but because you're saying so many yeses to good things, then you might not get to great. This is like my favorite part of the class, that just being very, very super deliberate. So I have a New Year resolution. I want to perfect my French, and I also want to learn how to swim. And I'm waiting for the swimming suit company to deliver my swimsuit. excuses. So just being able, like very deliberate. How am I taking it off? Am I deliberate? Am I actually putting in the work? And yeah, so the next one is currency risk. Did you know that on average, the Naira loses about 4% of its value per annum? We did this over the period of like 20 years. So we were looking at when the Naira was about 110 Naira to the dollar. If you had put it underneath your bed and you had compared it to when the Naira, when you are compared to it to putting your Naira in a treasury bill, guess who performed better? Just by the virtue of you changing your Naira, then it was 110, and putting it in dollars and put it under your bed. And if you had put your Naira in the treasury bill, the dollar actually outperformed. Yeah. So currency risk is real, very real. How can you hedge? There's a euro bond in Naira, but the entry price is a bit high. It's about, you need about $1,000 to get it. Stanbic and a couple of the banks have that. Another option is actually investing in foreign stocks. Some people also see a cryptocurrency as a way to also do that, but then that's also a very, very risky asset. So just being about, I would rather lean towards a money market mutual fund denominated in dollars, also known as a euro bond, and also lean towards foreign ETFs. So, on the long run, it's something you actually should consider as to the impact of your Naira. Remember that nice graph we did, and we saw how 20,000 Naira per month was increasing and growing? Imagine if you were changing into dollars after every 3 years. So, that's also a boss move. So, just be you see, all this math, all this calculation. The problem was, remember when I told you I came back to Nigeria and I had not saved and everything? I had to be doing all this math and doing all these calculations myself. And that's why it meant so much to me to actually do this. Put it online and create a website for it, get people to have access to it, and actually start being very deliberate. You will make some mistakes, you do some things right, but when you can see the bigger picture, you know what you're working towards, then is what? It's an easier journey. The next one is diversification, just basically seeing how the rich invest. So they put like 17% in what? In a bond, they put 7% in cash, they put 6% in real estate. So about 30% of this investment is going into what? It's going into safety. Safety. Are we together? Bonds are what? Safe. Remember we spoke about bonds. We spoke about real estate. Worst case scenario might lose a bit of its value, but relatively safe. When Nigeria went into that whole economy wala, guess the only one thing that was relatively safe, that retained its value, it was the real estate. So it dropped by about 5% or so, but like the currency did this, every other thing was doing this, and it was just so relatively safe. 30% is in safety, but yet Mr. Chikode will put 90% of his money in forex. Does it make sense? No, let it make sense, please. So risk management is very, very critical. Very, very critical. And you know why this is even, I think this is even low? Because let's say they have 1 billion Naira and they put 300,000 Naira in what? And they put 300,000 Naira in safety. If anything was going to happen to the 700,000 Naira, is 300 million Naira not high enough to come back to 1 billion? Are we together? So that is why you can even go higher. Like you don't have to sit on 30% of your income in safety. Because they are, when you look at it in terms of nominal numbers, they are working from a higher base. If anything was to happen, they have more to climb back up. Because we are protecting and we're looking at get back up, get back up. How quickly can you bounce back if anything was to happen? Frequently asked questions, should I do a job? A job is not a bad thing, but remember, if you're the last, let's say you are 12 and you're all doing by month, if you are number December, So, whenever they introduce me, I'm not fighting with them, it's fine. I just want to be the first or second person. And they don't give me them, it's fine. All right, bye-bye. So, negotiate for the first or second round. So, you get interest-free loan without interest, and then you can go and invest, and then you can give it back to them towards the other period. Should I take a loan? A loan is not a bad thing, but the question is what do you use it for? So you rather be looking at things like what is the return on my investment? What am I using my loan for? And that should be able to help inform your decisions. Should I take a loan? What am I using it for? The next one is should I put my car on Uber? So basically what they're trying to say here is how should I use my lazy assets? Yeah? How should I use my lazy assets? So it could be a car, it could be a house. My friend was managing some apartments on the island and Airbnb is now, oh by the way, you know that Airbnb, Lagos is one of their fastest growing markets. Yeah, people are really, really jumping and it's like it's a hot cake. So she says like out of 30 days in a month, 20 of those days, people actually book it. So I've been doing math and I saw you know I rent this house and I decorate it. And I do 5 pictures and I, you know, like you're just like trying to do the math. So where am I going with that? Many people have a spare room, like is will it be something you're interested in? Many people have a car that they're just sitting down in the parking lot that they're not maximizing. How am I maximizing it? So let's do a quick math. Let's say your car is worth 1 million, that is, and you want to put it on Uber. Based on research, after paying for the driver, for maintenance, for toll gates, for petrol, I think it's about 100,000 naira that comes into your account every month. That means that what? After 10 months, you've got your what? Your capital back. So it's called a payback period. Then whatever that comes afterwards is what? Your profit. Now imagine if your car is now 2 million. Uber will not say, because Mr. Kola has brought a finer car, we'll pay him more. No, you get the same money with every other person. So your payback is only going to happen after what? 20 months. Can you imagine? So the big game changer here is the higher the cost of the car, the longer the period to get your capital back. And the lower the cost of the car, the shorter the period to get your capital back. Now there's a bit of a catch. Now because you want a cheap car, now go and get the 600k car. Now, Mr. Sampson is always saying, Madam, they caught me. Or, oh madam, the engine, you understand, it's always going to be story. So there's also that human factor. If you don't get a good driver, what's going to happen? So it's just very, but the beautiful thing is that we've now done the math together. You understand what a payback period is. You understand what defensive strategy is. At the end of the day, it's your decision to do what? To make. The next thing is reading books. We have The Millionaire Next Door. We have The Intelligent Investor. We have a community at Money Africa that we actually read these books together and do all of this things. Intelligent Investor is a bit of a hard read. So I have to be summarizing it at the end of every week to share with the guys in the group. And then we also have Intelligent Investor. We have The Millionaire Next Door, and we are going to be reading, we are currently reading The Richest Man in Babylon. That is a good read. It's good, it's easier, it's simple, it's better. Intelligent Investor is a bit, I loved it, but it's a bit hard if you don't have a knack for numbers. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found it